My name is Jeff Gardner, and I'm very excited about today's webinar. You're really going to enjoy it. Today's webinar is about Supersellers Unite. We're going to talk to Josh Saladin. He's a top performer that he's going to share some ideas with us today. And so I'm going to get started. So good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Gardner, and picture me there with my favorite motorcycle. But my name is Jeff Gardner with Maximum Performance Group, and I started my company about 20 years ago. And one of the things that, when I started my business, I made a vow to myself, and that was to stay connected with the street. What I mean by that is I never wanted to lose touch with what it takes to be successful in selling in today's world. You know, I don't want to be that consultant. I don't want to be that trainer who operates only on past experience and theories. I really want to get out there and work with salespeople calling on real customers in real time. And I've worked with thousands and thousands of salespeople. And I've seen some very talented people, and I've seen some not so talented people that, you know, maybe are struggling and need some help. So working with those salespeople has given me a clearer understanding of what it takes to be successful. And in my live webinars and my live seminars, when I'm in front of people, I like to ask this question. How many of you want to be average when it comes to selling? And I say, show me your hands. Now, I can't obviously see you, but I bet no one is raising their hands. No one plans to be average. However, there are millions of salespeople out there working every day that are average. And the interesting thing about selling is that you can make a decent living, you know, decent income, even when you're average. So there's an old saying that says, if you want to be average, do what average people do. If you want to be above average, do what above average salespeople do, and do it every day. And that's what we're here today to talk about. We're going to interview Josh Saladin, and he's going to share some ideas about how he became a super seller. Josh, it's funny, Josh emailed me just last week, to let me know that he's already exceeded over $4 million in sales in 2015. So before we even get started, I want to point out one tip, one idea, one thing, one characteristic of a top performer is that they know where they are in their sales results. They know every day what number they have to hit. They know every week what number they have to hit. And he knew that. As soon as he went over that 4 million mark, he was excited and he gave me a call. You know, I met Josh a few years ago, and I immediately knew once I met him that he is unique. He is truly a selling machine. He calls on his 500 customers every month. I know that's surprising, but you're going to hear how he does that in just a few moments. And he also prospects every day. In the office products industry, I know we have other industries on this phone call, but in the office products industry, a top performer typically sells about $1 million. So Josh is doing 4 times that. And he's also in a smaller market. He's not in a big Chicago, New York, LA kind of marketplace, and he doesn't have giant customers. And it's not like he doesn't have competition. The office products industry, like many others, is highly competitive. There's some giant players out there like Staples and Office Depot that are continually buying market share with low prices, yet despite all this, Josh continues to grow every year. Now, before I turn it over to Josh and let him talk, I want to suggest a couple things. So for all of you watching, listening to this webinar, make a few notes. Write down a few things that you take away from this. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to tell you how that could benefit you personally. So we're going to talk about 3 things. We're going to talk about Josh's smart routines. We're going to talk about money-making calls. Besides being highly efficient and making a lot of calls, Josh also makes very effective calls. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about balance and how he balances his personal and his professional life. So Josh, I'd like to thank you so much for agreeing to share your tips and tactics with us today. You know, you and I have known each other for a few years, and you know, I'd like you to just walk us through your daily routine. Share with the group here, you know, what you do, how you do it, and walk us through those details. So thanks again, Josh.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity, and I just want to thank everyone who's on this call and listening to this and allowing me just to share a little bit to maybe help you become a better salesperson, a better mom, a better dad, whatever it's going to be. So, You know, as you can see in the slide here, I'm a strong believer in routines and sticking to a routine. Jeff and I talked a while back. I start early. I leave my home or my office typically around 7:50 every day, 7:45, somewhere in that range. I have 3 little kids that I have to bring to school, so that for me is my starting point to kick me out of the house, to kick me out of the office, wherever you're at. Get out there on the road early and go see your actual buying customers, the people who are providing you a paycheck. See them right away in the morning, as you can see in point number 2. I see my buying customers typically on a monthly rotation. There are a few that I see every other week, every week, things like that, but just get them on a rotation to where you're in front of them, you're talking to them on a monthly basis. Out of sight, out of mind is a big principle. If they're not seeing you, if they don't have trust and faith that you're getting to them and seeing them on a routine basis on particular days, they're not going to give you that opportunity to do business or more business with you. They're going to be more apt to talk to the competitor if they don't have that trust and relationship with you. So that's huge for me. And getting out early, taking care of that stuff right away, going to see those buying customers, doing your routes, gives you that free time in the afternoon, somewhere upwards of 3 to 4 hours on some days, to do your prospecting, to do your first appointments. You know, you guys are cutting into my Friday week 1 here, so but you know, to give you an idea, Jeff, this morning before this webinar, I've already seen 20 customers and run a new prospecting appointment. So, you know, that's what I do, and how I do it. I got an email earlier today from one I ran yesterday and gave her a quote, new customer, right there. You know, so you've got to be proactive, you've got to have a routine, and you've got to stick to it. Don't let those things bog you down in the morning to where you can't leave your home or you can't leave the office. Get out, do it right away, and use that afternoon for all your busy work and your prospecting. And end the day, you know, leave a few hours to call your prospects, to run appointments, and to get home on time, to be with your family and just have a good day and love what you do. So.
You know, Josh, that's unbelievable. The fact that you already made 20 calls this morning blows me away. You are a machine. And you know, that idea of leaving at the same time every day, that's huge. You know, the other thing we've talked about is that you've got this scheduled out on a monthly basis. And I like what you said, you're Friday, what did you call it? Friday week 1 or something?
I call it my Route 1. I have it over a four-week schedule, 5 days a week. So I really run a 20-day month. So there are some customers where I hit them twice in a month. Just depends on the rotation of the month, but it's typically every 4 weeks. So.
Wow. So I suppose those ones that you hit more often are usually larger customers, typically?
Typically larger, or maybe some people that need some more hand-holding or some more help in organization, or maybe some inventory, vendor-managed inventory that I do, or things like that. So I'd love everyone to order online, and almost 75% of my business is done via the web. But I still have those customers that I take care of with personal orders or checking inventory, things like that. So.
And then you told me that you really map it out geographically so that you can spend less windshield time and more customer face-to-face time.
You know, that's key. If you're going to have a routine and a route, you know, don't drive yourself all over the place every day. Don't drive past a customer or a prospect 4 times in a week. You know, set yourself up for success and have your routes and your customers routed so you can see a certain block of customers every 4th Monday, every 4th Tuesday, every 3rd Thursday, and you're in that area. The reason I do that is it's huge for me to see them in a much faster pace, but then it also allows me to prospect within that given area so I can add more customers to that day, or more. I call them, you know, to be honest, we call them business partners here because we don't really want to have a customer-vendor relationship. We really want to have more of a business partnership. So we really want to get out there and get in that area, saturate it, and add more to that day to make myself busier, I guess, but also to just make sure you're taking care of that business partner. So.
That's fantastic. And I know you've said that FaceTime, get in front of those customers, you know, that builds trust as well. And to today's competitive world, relationships still matter. You know, you're in a very highly commodity competitive marketplace, and, you know, products are the same, and in many cases pricing is similar, but you're the one that's going to make the difference. People still buy from people.
Yeah, that's very true, Jeff. You know, I don't know how many times I hear one of my business partners or customers saying, you know what, I called you instead of just ordering this from a competitor because I knew if I called you, you'd be more than willing to take a look and see if you can get there. And there are times where I can't get to a particular price that a customer needs that they're getting quoted by somebody else. But you know what, 9 out of 10 times I keep that business because there's a service level that you bring and a trust that you bring when you can be their full line supplier, when you can be there to help them in that need where somebody else can't. You know, I don't know too many people or companies like Staples that are going to drop things and bring someone a case of paper or something like that to help them. We do that here, and I do that too with my business partners. So,
well, that's fantastic, and that's one of the reasons you've built a big business. And, you know, the other thing, you know, in talking to you, you're a big believer in goal setting and setting objectives to push yourself. So walk us through your approach to goal setting and how you set, you know, objectives.
You know, I learned a long time ago. I've gone to, you know, tons of motivational seminars, and I have a couple friends in that business, and I learned a long time ago, if you're not setting goals in whatever you're doing, if it's personal, professional, sports related, whatever it is, you're probably not going to achieve the level that either you were made to achieve or the level that you want to achieve. So, you know, as far as short and long-term goals, I'm a strong believer in that. Short-term is something that can be achieved in a week, a day, as far out as a month maybe, where a long-term goal is something that's more of a 3-month, a quarterly, maybe a yearly type goal. Maybe it's, you know, somebody wanting to save up a certain dollar amount to buy a house or something like that. But I do those goals not only in my professional life as far as how many prospects I'm going to go after, how many new customers I'm going to obtain in a year, but I also do them in my personal life, and I do them with my spouse. And we have short-term goals as a family, we have long-term goals as a family, and really, you know, Jeff, you had mentioned this to me the other day that your personal goals really help you with your professional goals, and to me, that's a huge indicator of where somebody is in their, not only their personal life, but their professional life. If they're achieving those goals, they set them for themselves. So,
yeah, I remember. I don't remember who the speaker was, but he said something to the effect that your personal goals are the fuel that fire your professional goals. And, you know, as much as we want to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that's it. That's a huge factor.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and I think, you know, you have to have a goal to know where you're going. You know, as we keep going through here, I want to move to the next slide. You know, the thing I want to say about Josh is that, you know, I kind of quizzed him. I said, well, gosh, how can you make an effective call if you're doing that many calls? And he still makes every call count. He has, you know, I'm going to let him cover the points on the slide, but I was really, you know, amazed with your approach of having call objectives for every sales call. And I can tell you that there's a lot of salespeople, some I've worked with, that they're saying is, I can't wait to get into that appointment to hear what I say. Well, that's not Josh. So Josh, walk us through how you develop sales call objectives and how you go about doing that.
You know, and for me, it's real easy. You know, you've got number 2 there with using Sales Eye. I use Sales Eye to identify, you know, opportunities within my account base, to look at what people are ordering, what they're not ordering, what are maybe some lower cost options that are going to be better margin gainers for me, but not sacrifice quality for my customer. So what I've done a few months ago, I really started digging into that and looking at 3 to 4 customers or business partners every day that I'm visiting, and actually digging in the day before or a couple days before and setting myself up with something that I'm going to bring in there that I feel is of value to them, that could add some value to them and separate me from the competition. And then for the rest of those business partners that I'm visiting, I really focus on an objective to either bring in rebates from, you know, manufacturers on particular products that I feel are hot in the marketplace. We sit down here on typically a quarterly basis and come up with whatever marketing plan we've got with flyers and, you know, catalogs and that kind of stuff. But really, you want to do a lot of show and tell as well. I worked with a gentleman quite a few years ago, and we walked into some schools, and he called it show and tell, and he brought in that, that Paper Pro automatic paper punch, and he sat that in front of those receptionists and those principals, and they played around with it, and they touched it, and they used it, and we sold 50 paper punches that day. I couldn't even believe that was possible. So, I do that with staplers, with paper punches, with certain products that I know are going to be appealing to people. You see the Post-it note dispensers that are the shape of a shoe, and the purses and stuff. You know what? People love that stuff, and you bring it in, you let them feel it and touch it, and that's what you need to be focused on. It's something that's not only good for you, but good for your business partner as well. So, and that's, I was talking to you the other day, Jeff. Sometimes you might run out of things to bring or things to really show somebody. Put it into your business partner's hand or your customer's hand, and I created what I call a full line flyer, and it's basically all our product categories that we offer here, and it just allows my business partner to tell me what they want. I learned a long time ago in sales, if you're not listening, you're not selling. So I can tell you how great something is all day long, but if I didn't listen to what you wanted and listen to what you need, you're probably not going to buy it. So I hand that flyer out typically twice a year. I've just started doing that through the month of December here. And just the other day, I got a $20,000 furniture job from somebody that said, wow, boy, I didn't really know you did this full amount of furniture and things like that. So let your customers or your business partners tell you what they want by creating a flyer that asks questions to them that they can send back to you. So, the snapshot. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to say, I thought that was an interesting approach, because typically, you're going to go into a customer and say, hey, I want to get more share of your spend in this category, that category. What Josh told me he does, and the more I thought about this, the more I felt it was really appropriate on certain calls for sure, is he'll show them all the different categories and say, which of those, are you interested, Mr. Partner Customer, and when they express interest in that, it gives you a full license to go after that. Is that pretty much how you described it?
Yeah, that's key. It gives them the power too to feel that they're important, and that you're not just some salesperson pushing a product down their throat, or somebody trying to just get their business and then leave them alone and things like that. The big thing is having them feel that they are important to you and that their business matters to you, and that's a huge part of the snapshot too that I use with Sales Eye. I typically sit down with my top 25 to 30 customers. This year I'll probably do 50 business partners through January and the first part of February that I want to show them where they're spending their dollars, what I think we can do as a company to help them capture more of that to their bottom line and save a little bit. Maybe, I hate to say it, but I've helped a larger customer uncover some very big employee theft before, because believe it or not, depending on the size of the account, sometimes they're not looking at how many staplers they're buying or how many HP toners they're buying or something like that, to where you show them that stuff and bells start to go off and say, wow, you can really save me that, or I wonder where that product's going. So, the snapshot's key to help keep that business not only in your pocket, but also keep the competition away, because really no one else is doing that. I don't get too many vendors that call me up and say, hey, I want to come in and show you what you're buying from me and see if I can save you more money. It's typically the other way around. So that's really key for me in keeping my larger accounts and keeping people happy.
And for those of you on the call that don't know what the snapshot is a tool within Sales Eye, and that gives the customer a quick view, and typically people use it for business reviews. Like you said, you might, your 50 best customers or largest customers, you might go in there and do a business review. So that's great. I want to keep moving along. We have this question in there, and it's a little bit of a loaded question because Sales Eye is sponsoring this webinar, but I will tell you this. I know that Josh would be a super seller whether he had Sales Eye or not. But having a tool such as Sales Eye, I know you and I talked the other day, it puts you on equal footing with some of your big box competitors, I know. But tell us just a quick, without going into a commercial here, how has SalesI helped you to become even more successful? How have you used it, and maybe some of the reports that you use?
You know, for me, SalesI is just a huge help to keep me organized, to keep me on top of my customer base or my business partners, and helping me, you know, look for opportunities to grow not only my business but their business. You know, I look at my business partners as, you know, my business. I work for an owner. Yes, this is his company, but you know what? I really feel that every customer I have is my own business, and if I'm not doing everything to the best of my ability for my customers or my business partners, I'm not running my business right. And SalesI is a huge help in digging into your accounts, digging into what they're buying, what they're not buying, are there opportunities for lower cost options. And you know, the alert system is wonderful to tell you when somebody isn't buying. That's a huge part of a salesperson's day, is wondering, is that customer still buying from me? And SalesI can help you with that too. So it's just really an all-around program to just help you keep organized and dig into your account base and help you sell more.
Awesome, awesome. You know, I wanted to also, you know, you can tell us, you know, about your marketing program. You've developed your own, besides what your company does, you've got your own little personal marketing program. Walk us through that, if you don't mind, for a few moments.
Sure. You know, I'm big on technology and not only seeing my customers, but, you know, every time you can touch your customer in some way, shape, or form, whether that's a personal visit, or running a route and seeing them on a set schedule, shooting them email blasts, things like that. I'm a huge proponent of that personal touch. So, you know, we do email blasts here at my company, and that's great, but I really love sending an email to my business partner direct from me. So I typically do it quarterly. Sometimes I'll do some monthly promotions depending on the year or time of year that you're in, like winter time when we're doing ice melt or something like that. But focusing quarterly on rebates that are out there on products that are big sellers in the marketplace. You know, the other day I sent one out with Zebra had a rebate. I think this was last quarter on the Safari gel pens, you know, compared to the Pilot G2 pen. Well, you know what? I sent that rebate out and I sold a ton of boxes of the Zebra pens. Better margin for me, lower cost for the customer, and a great pen, getting more market share for Zebra. So, you know, that's key, is just getting stuff that's in the hands of the customer, the business partner, that's really beneficial to them. And, you know, I have yet to have any of my business partners tell me not to send them this email or to unsubscribe. So I really feel it's working and doing the job that it's intended to. You know, they're going to get inundated with stuff from the big boxes and from other companies constantly about web specials and stuff, but when it comes personally from someone they have a relationship with, they're more apt to look at it and give it some time and want to buy from you. So,
you know, and that's really cool, because you're going above, you're going the extra mile. You know, the other thing you and I talked about, and I'm going to preface this slightly, but you know, you really try to drive customers to place their orders over the web. And I know a lot of salespeople out there, you know, they want to handle every customer transaction, and in effect what they become is what I call outside customer service reps. And you know, you value your time, and you're certainly there to help customers, but the transaction of ordering is best served through your website. And I think you said you have over 75% of your business online, so that's great. It's fantastic.
Correct, yeah. You know, and I do take a lot of orders because I have a large account base, but you know, with 75% of my stuff going through the web, that's huge for me to be able to focus on other things like getting to all my customers and business partners on a routine basis, running new prospect appointments, prospecting, phone calls, emails. And you know, the internet's great, but the box stores and other companies really want you to have a relationship with that internet. You know, we feel kind of we sell the old way. We want you to have a relationship and order online, but we really want you to have a relationship with a real person. And you know, a lot of older reps, I hate to say older reps, but a lot of reps and who have been around a long time kind of have their milk and honey run, where they're just going to see those customers that they know are buying every month or every 2 weeks, and they're not focusing on those customers that could be real hidden gems. And you know, I'm sure there's people here that on this call that, you know, they're not in the office products industry, but they're in another industry where, you know, you're not just selling one thing. You're selling office products, you're selling printing supplies, you're selling copy paper, you're selling furniture, you're selling ad specialties. Somebody's in the auto industry, you're not only selling new and used cars, but you're selling service, you're selling upgrades, that kind of stuff, and just missing those customers that really could turn into real gems. And I've found a lot of customers that I've increased their monthly volume 2 to 3 times by showing them other product lines that we offer.
That's fantastic. And I think the other thing that blew me away initially was that you spend time every day prospecting. And we all know prospecting is important, but I can tell you so many salespeople tell me, oh, I've got so many customers, I don't have time to prospect. Give us a couple quick tips on your prospecting methodology.
I'm a big believer in not giving them too much up front. You can drop off all the catalogs you want and things like that. Most of that stuff doesn't get looked at. When I drop off stuff to a prospect, I'd leave 3 points. I leave them a little teaser leave behind with a few office basics like copy paper and file folders, the commodity items that people always say, what's your price on copy paper? Well, that's great. I can give you a price on copy paper, but people don't realize that's typically not their most spend item. It's probably a toner cartridge, or it could be some furniture. So you want to give them something that's of value. And then I leave them a leave behind telling them about me and my company. And I leave them some letters of recommendation from some great area businesses. And that's it. I get a card. Jeff, I kid you not, I've trained dozens of sales reps. I am in and out of a prospect in 60 seconds or less with a contact name. Wow. It's all about first impressions with that gatekeeper, with that because typically that gatekeeper is the person that's ordering. So you don't want to take away that person's time. You want to be professional. You want to get in and out, give them the information that they need, and get the information that you need. We were talking the other day, Jeff. I have a gentleman here that started with us about just over 2 years ago with nothing. He used to work for Staples, and he's going to do about $1.3 million this year, running my system. It works.
That's fantastic.
You just have to do it. You have to commit to it and do it.
And that's another tip for those of you out there. Top performers are always willing to share their ideas, and you're sharing with the other people that work with you, and it just makes everybody stronger. As we start coming close to the end of this webinar, I don't want to skip this topic because it's so important. I remember one time asking you, are you working 24/7? How do you do all of this? Walk us through this. I know you have 3 kids. I know you're a coach in youth sports, but give us all some advice and tips on how we can have a better balance in our professional and personal world.
Jeff, I work 8 hours a day at the most. I leave my home 7:45, 7:50. I'm home every day by 5:30, 5:45. I take a little bit of lunch. I've got some downtime during the day, if you can believe it or not, where I can do something personal if I had to. But I really feel you have to have that balance. I don't want my phone to ring at 7 o'clock at night. I don't want my phone to ring on Saturdays and Sundays. That's my time for me and my family. And I think if you put in the effort and you put in the time and you change the way you're doing some things and help with your business partners as far as training them, how to order online, what things aren't emergencies and what things are emergencies, I think you're going to see that balance in the end that's going to allow you to have that family time to, spend with your family, to play sports, to, continue a hobby that you love, whatever it's going to be. You shouldn't be tied down to your job.
That's perfect. And really that's, people, it's your family that counts in the long run. So, I really appreciate that. I'm going to wrap up with a couple comments, and then we're gonna ask you for any last words of wisdom. But as I said, I've worked with a lot of salespeople, and I've observed some things that, first off, most top performers at some point in their life they make a decision to be a top performer. It's kind of a conscious decision. It's like a light switch that they activate to begin their success journey. They also have great habits. Good habits. Those of you who, if you've ever heard of an author named Og Mandino, if you haven't read the book, The Greatest Salesperson in the World, you need to rush out and get that this weekend or tonight. It's an incredible book. But top performers have good habits. We can have bad habits or good habits. They're slaves, as Og says, to good habits. The other person I really respect is Brian Tracy, and the other habit that top performers have is that self-discipline. And his quote there, self-discipline is the ability to make yourself do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not. And then the last thing that I've noticed is that top performers are constantly developing their skills. And I have a quote from my book, Maximum Selling: I'm better than I was, but not as good as I will be. And what I want to throw out is a challenge to everyone on this call. I suggested that you write down 1 or 2 things that you can take away from this call to apply on the job. If you send me an email with something that you applied on the job as a result of this workshop, this webinar, that helped you to sell more, I'll send you a free copy of my book. So my email's up there, Jeff. My short email is jeff@mpg91.com. I hope I get to give away dozens of books. But take something you learned from this webinar, apply it on the job, and increase your sales. Because I want to ask you a little different question at the very end here. How many of you want to be a super seller? So let's see everybody's hands up in the air. Josh, I want to thank you so much for the ideas you've been sharing with us today. You really are a super seller.
Hey, it's been my privilege and an honor, and I just thank everyone on this call for the opportunity. And if there's ever anything I can do for somebody, feel free to email Jeff, and I'd be happy to answer your question or help in any way I can.
Thanks again, Josh. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for participating in this webinar. I hope you all have a really nice weekend and a wonderful holiday season. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. And go out and sell something. Take care.